Well, hello, West Ham fans. I think it's time for a rant, isn't it? Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Hope you're enjoying your Easter weekend at the moment. So, a lot of stuff came out earlier today, all from Sean, God bless him, for West Ham Football on X. If you're not following him, always do, because I think it's always quite a divisive. Lots of things come up and they do have quite mixed opinions. And there's been a whole host of stuff coming out about season tickets. And well, firstly, there's the price hike, so to speak, which has gone up, and and to be honest, everything's gone up, in everything in our lives, and I think it is pricing people out of football, out of West Ham. But then Sean commented, wrote a post for Claret and Hugh, saying that the club believe that their season tickets are incredibly cheap compared to other Premier League clubs, which they are. They are. But just it's still gone up, and price has still gone up, and it means people have to pay more. I think it's something between 6 and 15%, and so some people may be lucky and get the 6% hike, some people are unlucky and get the 15% hike. That's before we talk about the other things I want to touch on today. But I thought it was interesting how he. The article said that the players' wages and higher transfer fees can't exceed a fixed percentage of turnover to comply with FFP, and sadly the revenue's got to come from elsewhere, which would mean increasing season ticket renewals, and have them above inflation, which is what they are. Although they insist that last year's were a lot less than inflation, but doesn't matter. It's a pay packet now rather than pay packet 12 months ago. They were quoted in saying that our season tickets really are too cheap. If we were starting afresh tomorrow, our season tickets would be 50 to 70% higher, and there would only be concessions in bad six. We'll talk about concessions in a minute. We cocked up badly by underpricing season tickets from day one when we moved to London Stadium. Most supporters realise how cheap they are. Our one-day renewals this year were at a record level. Obviously, the price hike came up this month, or this week, and there was apparently a really high renewal rate. Obviously, a lot of people are hanging back in terms of seeing what's happening on the pitch, in terms of who's going to be in the dugout, and if our director of football is still going to be there, and all this type of stuff. And although I think the actual cut-off is end of June or end of July, something like that. So by then, obviously, Moyes' contract runs out. It would have run out by then. So whether he signs a new one as a head coach or whatnot, we'll have to wait and see. But I think a lot of people are hanging back as well, which makes perfect sense. Now, the two things I really wanted to pick up on today were around another two tweets from Sean today. Actually, then we'll finish off on just showing how massive we are as a club at the end. So we'll finish on a positive note, really. And I think actually it's a note which kind of gives the club carte blanche to do things like increase season tickets prices, looking at the concessions, looking at things like that, because we have such a loyal fan base. Now, what should we start with first? Let's start with concessions. So apparently, West Ham, this is according to Sean, will follow Spurs' lead by phasing out concession season tickets by moving them to upper tiers and lower price ticket bands. It has been confirmed. The West Ham Supporters Trust blew the whistle in a statement saying the Hammers were introducing a new strategy for new season ticket holders, limiting concession tickets to certain areas. There will be no concession prices. There have been no concession price tickets for some time in the 1966 West Stand and the 1966 Billy Bond season tickets. And now it looks like seats in bands 1 to 4 will follow suit. Existing ticket holders with concession-based prices in band 1 and band 4 will not be affected by the change. So that's important. It's not getting rid of people who are in band 1 and 4 and upping their prices or move them elsewhere to the stadium. Those won't change, but it seems newer season tickets, people coming in, won't have concessions. A senior source commented, Spurs have scrapped all concessions and have just the one price now in each area. In the long term, we want to create family stands for children and the elderly, but it will not impact existing season ticket holders' renewal. So we did a lunchtime quiz, and Ludders was talking about that. They're because I think she was 64, and they're going. Sorry, Ludders, giving your age away. But she was 64, and then next season will be 65. She will not get a concession, so she'll be paying the same. But if she was already 65 and on concession, she would keep that concession price. That's the way I've read to believe. He goes, Spurs have scrapped concessions altogether, even on renewals. But regardless of that fact, I think it shows, once again, what I've been saying for a long time, that football now isn't about the fans from a business perspective. It's a business. And the fact is, we've got an incredibly loyal fan base. A case in point, we're looking at the Leverkusen game coming up, Leverkusen away. Arsenal are playing Bayern Munich away, and they are struggling to sell their away allocation to Bayern Munich in the Champions League last 16. Apparently, according to it's on the Arsenal website, Arsenal season ticket holders their quarter-final fixture against Bayern Munich away is now at 4 points for their season ticket holders. 4 points. To put that in comparison, Bayer Leverkusen, for our Bayer Leverkusen game, you have to have at least 51 points. And I think because of that, because of our loyalty, yes, there's a percentage of the fan base who might not renew because who is in the dugout or whatnot, but there will be quite a substantial amount of people who are loyal, who have been going years and years and years. And maybe they've been going 30, 40 years. Maybe they are entering pension age now, or we're entering into that concession age. And now, where they can go and money's tighter, they might be retiring now, they have an option. They either pay the full whack, continue paying the full whack in prior, I don't know, band 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, or they end up shoved up right at the top where they're older, they might be harder to get up the stairs, harder, they might not be able to see so well. I think I don't agree with it. I think it's a real, own goal really by the club, to be perfectly honest. And that. And you know the reason why. The reason why is, if it's humble, rather than paying concession on someone for band 1, they can get someone paying full price on the band 1. So there's going to be more money generated. Now, the flip side is more money generated into the club means FFP sanctions, PSRs, we can spend more. But regardless of that, there would always be a percentage of the fan base who will go, even if West Ham were in the National League, they would still buy their season ticket and would have bought it for the last 30, 40 years and have bought a group as a family. Now, because Grandad's going to be entering 65 now, he either pays full whack or the whole family get carted off into the tops to be together. Well, they're saying that about Upton Park. My granddad bought our season tickets. We had a cracking seat in the upper Trevor Brooking. It was cracking, but still, that was a different time, a different stand. I just think that I just really don't agree with that. Yes, we have cheaper season ticket prices than anywhere else in the London, for example. Yes, we do offer the cheapest season ticket in the country, or in the Premier League. But I'd love to see how many of those we actually sell and how many actually we have, or whether we have one just to qualify for having the cheapest. But still, it's something which, again, it adds weight to the debate that people say, we're losing the West Hamness, we're losing the community. If you're losing the older fans, the fans who've seen us, 60, so they would have probably seen us lose against Anderlecht in 75. they would have probably seen us against, win the FA Cup in '80. That these guys are our history. These guys are, I love interviewing. I love talking to older fans because I was never around to experience what Bobby Moore was like, what Billy Bonds was like as a player. I've never seen these players play and Trevor Brooking and stuff like that. And we're going to be pushing them out for tourist fans, maybe for people who live around the area, don't support West Ham, but it's cheap football. It would have it could have a detrimental effect to the atmosphere, the community feel. I'm surprised that I'm surprised that there's. It's only just come out today. I think there's going to be a huge backlash to that. And then following on from that, Sean's been busy rolling up season ticket holders today, but he's just reporting about what's been reported and what he's been told. Apparently, again on Claret Hugh, it says that by Sean that West Ham are planning to ban supporters from renewing season tickets if they fail to attend the majority of games as they get tough on absent ticket holders. The club have apparently compiled a list of West Ham season ticket holders, and I've just realised I've done the whole thing without my lovely thistle. Doesn't matter, carry on. Yeah, just jazz it up a little bit. If you scrolled it, you'd be like, what the fuck are they talking about now? Anyway, so he says... they compiled a list who attend very few games and do not list the ones they can't make on the Ticket Club exchange. Speaking to Claret Hugh, Club Insider said, "We're not going to renew some season tickets holders who attend few games and don't list their tickets on the exchange. We're fed up with so many empty seats. The season tickets are so cheap. Some supporters pick and choose their games and it's a real problem for us. We have a licensed capacity of 62,500. But previous Freedom of Information requests have revealed that the attendance can be up to 10,000 lower, with season ticket holders choosing to leave their seats empty." And so, you pay for your seat. It's your seat. It's your right to do what you want to do with that seat. If you want to go to the game, great. If you don't want to go to the game, great. If you want to give it to your mate, great. If you want to put it on ticket exchange, great. But it's your choice. Again, we know why this. We can see why this is happening. This is happening because they want more bums on seats to get more people buying programs, to get more people buying hot dogs, get more people buying scarves, shirts. Which I totally get. But I don't think it's fair that they're going to stop someone from buying a season ticket, giving the club £600, £700, £800, £900, £1,000, whatever, and then say, actually, you can't renew because you don't go very often. Case in point, Anton. Anton lives in Scotland. He's still a season ticket holder. He still pays a lot of money for 2 season tickets. A lot of money for that. He probably makes 3 or 4 games a season at the moment, just because of family. It costs him hundreds of pounds on travel to get down there. Plus, Freddie's at school, and if it's a night game, you have to travel down the day before, or the whole family come down, and then they've got to have travel costs and eating out and things like. There's a lot of money involved in that, and that's just one example. Now, Anton, he won't mind me saying this, gives his season ticket away to people very often. So he wouldn't, because he's checked in, because the seat is full, he won't be on this list. He doesn't put it on ticket exchange, very rarely. He'll give it to someone so they can go and watch the game, which I think is bloody good of him, to be honest. For me, I'd have, if I couldn't go, I'd put it on ticket exchange. That's just me as a person. Get something back. But you shouldn't have to be dictated what you do with your seat. I might get a season ticket for the train, but I don't go on the train every day. TFL got my money anyway. Who gives a shit? But they might say, but then I don't pay where it's £6 or £8 at Gilea Park to park my car, And I just think, again, it's just the club, from a if 10,000, if there's still 55,000 people there, or 51,500 people there, that's still a lot of people to make a racket with. I don't think it's a case of the empty seats. I think it's a case of the fact is that seat isn't earning them money that day. They've already paid for it, but it's double bubble, isn't it? It is, and I know we don't get a lot of money off the catering, but we do get some back. But it is about the retail opportunities. It's about buying the scarf. It's about buying the shirt. It's about buying the program. I just don't think, with the price hike, with the concessions thing, and also with this sort of use it or lose it policy, that it's really helped. It's really helped the perception of the club to the fan base. It hasn't. It's just made it, I think, worse, really. And maybe I don't know how far these policies are down the line, so to speak. Maybe it's ideas being floated. That tends to happen, and Sean will float those ideas about and see what people say and see the reaction. But I don't think if I was West Ham, I think, you're on hiding to nothing. And I totally understand. And from a business perspective, I get it. But sometimes it needs to just stop. Just needs to stop. Football is nothing without the fans. Although people go, well, what about COVID? That was the same for everyone. And in fact, everyone the broadcasters made plenty of money out of that because they were doing so many games. And then the club were making money of that as well because obviously they were paying for those, being televised, and obviously there was no fans in attendance and they were missing out match day revenue. But again, I did a slide a few weeks in terms of how West Ham make their money, and the actual match day revenue, I think it's about 15% of all the money we make. So it's not an insignificant amount, but it's not that it takes over in terms of the broadcast rights or the commercial rights. That revenue, that 15%, isn't huge. And if they can increase it by another 2-3% or 6% maybe in terms of the season ticket hikes, or make the lose it policy and things like that, so more bums in seats, more people buying stuff in the stadium, then obviously that would increase. And I get that from a PSR perspective, from an FFP perspective, it means our revenue increases, which means, if we're paying more wages and we're not getting more revenue, then what we can spend does decrease. That's how it works now. So obviously we do need to make more money. But maybe what we do is we buy the right players and we sell them at the right time to make money. Maybe we look at, really, the naming rights. That's a huge pot of money we can get there. We get after the first 4 million, is it? Then we get 50% of that. I just think we're squeezing fans. We're squeezing them for money, which they haven't got at the moment, particularly in terms of the price hikes. Use it or lose it, I can understand. But I think a lot of people do that. But it's your prerogative. If you're not enjoying if someone you pay, I always go with the adage: you pay your money, you take your choice. If you're paying for a product and you don't want to watch that product, if you pay for a ticket for a cinema and you're not enjoying the film, you can walk out. When we were losing 4-0 half time against Arsenal, people did walk out. It's their prerogative. They paid the money, it takes a choice. You pay your money for your season ticket, you take your choice. The other way, looking at it a little bit from another perspective, is because season tickets are so cheap, a lot of people who maybe aren't West Ham fans are buying them to watch a bit of Premier League football, and they can pick and choose the games they want. By getting rid of those tourist fans, potentially, in terms of tourist season ticket holders, it may mean that more genuine West Ham fans can get to go games, because if they're going on a ticket exchange and things like that. So although I've just gone completely down one way, there is a slight deviation, and I can understand that. If, say, 3, 4, 5,000, because they were so cheap at the time, bought a season ticket, they're not West Ham fans, they live around the area, they might support Arsenal, they might support Spurs, so they'll go and watch the Arsenal and Spurs games, and that's it. And they're financially stable enough to be able to do that every year, then fantastic. But that seat could go to someone who wants to go to West Ham, who wants to cheer on their side. So, although I see the business perspective, I do actually see the fans, potentially. Again, it's not. It's going to be a majority. It's not going to be a majority, but there'll be a percentage of the season ticket holders at the moment at the London Stadium who aren't West Ham fans, who are buying tickets because they are cheap, or are buying extra because they are so cheap, or they were so cheap at the time. As a senior source said, they would have probably charged about 50-70% more, which would probably put us more in line with the likes of Spurs and Arsenal, particularly on the lower end season tickets. But anyway, let me know what you think. I'm fascinated by this debate because there'll be people in the chat who aren't season ticket holders. There'll be people in the chat who are season ticket holders. And there'll be different perspectives for both. Definitely. I am not a season ticket. I'm not a season ticket holder. I used to be, because I work at the club now. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I was for 10, 15 years beforehand. And then I've been working for the club for 23 years. So in theory, I would have still been a season ticket holder for about 40 years otherwise. And I can get both, and I can understand that perspective as well, but maybe not so much as people who are paying for those tickets now. Anyway, something a bit different, bit of a rant, but a structured rant, I hope. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, come your irons.